Proportional Response, Book 1. Chapter 23, Part 5, Balancing Boldness and Caution. Enibel suppressed both a small grin at the thought of his fiancée sending her aunt to comfort him, and the blush in his hands caused by the same thought. He then looked at the screen, expecting his brother to have called the interplay and be amused, but saw a dark countenance and tired eyes instead. Enibel only had a moment before Henry spoke.
I was just telling the others, we have a problem.
Text appeared on the screen, and Enibel noted with a start that it was an email to Henry, not the human embassy, from the Pinigran ambassador Rachlid Datara. Henry continued,
I won't make you read it. Short version is that, through a lot of flowery language and polite phrasing, Datara has informed me. That's right. Informed, not requested, suggested, nor asked, that he will be allowed to speak in the session that I called, after everyone else, just before I call the vote. He can't, of course, truly demand such a thing, not with the improvised rules that the Council is operating under, but he makes it abundantly clear that he will cause a great deal of trouble if I don't give in to his request.
Kaz pursed his lips.
Okay, yeah, that can't be good. He knows what this vote is about. Space and vacuum, everyone knows what it is about at this point. Still, what can he really do?
All eyes turned to Euro. Enibel leaned toward her to try and get a look at her glasses. He'd done this only once before and received a very sharp look from her. He felt her tense as he leaned in, but then she softened and let him put his cheek against hers. He could imagine the slight smile she probably would have directed at him if the angle had been different. Thank you, my love. I couldn't have made it through these months without the subtle help of your aunt. He couldn't really read the words on her glasses, but could get a sense of the text's formatting. I think she has already read the email and is trying to comb through the charter. She noticed everyone staring at her, but waved a hand at Golnar instead of replying to the unspoken questions. Enibel sat up straight as all eyes turned to Golnar, who sat intently reading the Penegra email. She noticed everyone's stares and spoke.
From what little I have read of the normal inter-house discourse rivalry, Henry, you are reading it far too kindly. This is a direct threat for you to do as he demands, or else. The or else is, of course, left quite open-ended, but among his own kind, this would be nothing short of a threat of violence. I don't think he means that here, but I don't doubt that he could cause us an awful lot of problems if you don't do as he asks. To your next question, no, I can't tell you what he plans. I will talk to Ingthor and see if he has any thoughts, or if the bird has been contacting other ambassadors to try and force a split vote, but I can't imagine that he thinks he could accomplish even that.
Henry nodded.
Yes, I don't like this at all, and I smell a trap. Actually, I smell a lot of traps, but can't decide which it could be.
Enibel found himself nodding and felt a small excitement, almost despite himself. He'd felt nearly useless for so long, now, as everything hinged on the point and counterpoint of war. This, however, he had some idea of what to do with.
He has something, or believes he has something, that will either stop the vote or cause it to come out as a hung vote. Remember that we need a true majority, not just a majority of everyone who votes yay or nay. Anyone abstaining or otherwise withholding their vote is effectively voting against us at this point. So, since he is hitting us with this at the last moment, and the Penigra in general, and this guy in particular, are not known for bluffing, overplaying their hand, or being wrong when they think they have the upper hand, I suggest we rethink our plan of action for the day.
All eyes turned to focus hard on him. He felt himself start to shrink back in reflex, but the reflex never really kicked in. This was his arena, his expertise, and he knew it. So did they.
I'm not suggesting we cancel the vote of no confidence, nor that we forgo all plans to put Kaz up for the position. I'm just going to suggest that if Ambassador Datara is able to derail our plans, and we have already revealed who we intend to have as Prime Minister.
Kaz's eyes narrowed, and he heard several sharp breaths, but it was Henry who answered.
Everyone will have far too long to think about it, and to start putting everything from the last few years together before the fix is in, as they say. That could turn things badly against us.
Henry's eyes widened.
You think he knows?
Inable shook his head, holding up a placating hand.
No, I don't think he knows. Not exactly. I think that he is an astute player of the Penigra pastime, and has smelled something rotten in everything is going on. In other words, that he suspects some sort of collusion between you and someone else, and he is hoping to bring that out into the open. That is why he is insisting on speaking last, instead of first.
Henry's mouth set in a tight line, but it was Kaz that answered.
So, we give him what he's demanded, but don't give him what he wants. The Arabso and Thimir can back Henry, but we need to warn everyone else, particularly the Ruxa and the Baitha, that the plan has changed, and not to make any intimations about who they think should be Prime Minister. Neither Henry nor myself. Of course, that could be what he wants too, just to distance humanity from potential allies.
Hannibal smiled and nodded.
It is all about fallout and damage control. I think he is on what you would so charmingly call a fishing expedition. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the old blowhard doesn't have anything up his sleeve and is just trying to draw your less visible allies out.
Hannibal considered his own words a few moments, shook his head, and then shrugged.
It would be in character, and the way the Penigra play their pastime I've been studying, for this to be just an attempt to draw us out, but my gut tells me there is more. Regardless, I think the best thing we can do is keep our cards close to our chest and forge ahead. He will have something up his sleeve, or he won't, but we have enough momentum behind us that we didn't really need to telegraph things anyway.
Everyone around the room nodded, and each pulled up a window on the dedicated private lines to warn their more covert allies. They made the walk to the council chamber in silence, which gave Hannibal far too long to think. He may have just, with a knee-jerk reaction, decided the fate of the entire league back there. The lives and health of billions upon billions of souls resting on his insight. His footsteps began to slow, and he didn't even realize it until Yoro subtly put her hand in the crook of his elbow. He heard Golnar do the same with Kaz behind him. Nothing unusual here, just two ambassadors providing escort for the ladies in their party. Certainly not one of those ladies keeping one of the ambassadors from redecorating this plush carpet with his breakfast. Just before they got to the door to their platform, Yoro reached up and stroked the back of his neck, just the way Lyra had always done to comfort him. Shock at the private gesture overrode his nerves for a moment as he turned wide eyes at her. She gave him an impish grin and stuck her glasses on his face. He gasped when he saw what had to be live footage of Lyra smirking at him, and the words, "This is your specialty, my love. You got this, I know you do. I wish I could be there to give you moral support, but I'll be watching, so take what support from that you can." One might expect having their fiancée, soon-to-be empress, watching what could be the defining moment of their career would add to their nerves, rather than alleviate it, but no. They had seen each other too vulnerable too many times and shared a connection that gave him strength, even over the light years. Yoro took her glasses back and placed them on her own face with a wink as they passed into the council chamber. Emil had been praying he could just make it to his seat without some embarrassing display, but the support of his lady and his soon-to-be aunt had bolstered him, and he strode with confidence to the platform's lectern. He stood, hands folded before him, with every outward appearance of patience and calm as the stragglers trickled in. Henry called for a full quorum, and few dare to defy him at this point. No one has missed the fact that the humans have beaten the Altans in every battle where they cared to fight, nor that the Zoltans were unable to gain a significant foothold on any human world. A good look around the room evidenced the nervousness which lay under the excitement. Nearly everyone hates the Zoltan, they have just always feared them more than they hated. Now, however, the humans are capable of engendering just as much fear, and could cause more, but don't. Everyone knows this, and their willingness to garner respect where they could command fear is, perhaps, the most frightening thing of all. Yes, they all feared the humans. They just couldn't decide if they feared the humans or the Zoltans more. But the mix of fear and respect for humanity made them able to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could stand up to the Zoltans at last. Still, holdouts existed, Some resisted change for any reason, some had profited as lapdogs of the Exaltan, others just decided they hated the humans for whatever inane reason. Spotting each of those has become easier and easier, and of course, now they trickle in late to the session, quietly making a protest by causing a delay. Edible shook his head. I could sit down, but this is a vote of extreme import, and it should be treated with proper solemnity. Some took a look at him and seemed to calm themselves, or at least to project calm. A few even stood and moved to the front of their own platforms, as if following his example. Edible glanced to his left and his right. The Exaltan ambassador sat in his chair, facing his door. A direct insult to the entire proceeding. The Pinagran had, however, emulated himself. The man stood at the front of his platform, calm and hands folded. At last, everyone had filed in, and all of the doors slid shut. Henry did not make them slam home as Kilintar had been so fond of doing, but let them close with a whisper. He then moved his platform to the same space that Anibal's own platform had occupied so many times lately, but on the opposite side of the lectern. Anibal had to suppress a smile at that. Subtle, brother, but astute. Strengthening Kaz's position while simultaneously appearing to try to distance yourself from him.